Story 1. My son had cancer a few years ago at age 4. After his initial operation, he was in the recovery room hooked up to all the monitors. He had been intubated during surgery and was still half asleep with his eyes closed. When I held his hand, he said in the tiniest raspy voice, "Daddy, please take me home." Story 2. My daughter just turned 5 and asked me for real makeup. I asked her why she wanted it because I don't wear any unless it's a special occasion, and she said to feel beautiful. Apparently, the girls in her class told her she wasn't. Now it's part of affirmations. I can do anything. I am beautiful. No kid should have to worry about that. Broke my heart. Story 3. My son is almost 2. He's at the age where he wants to be right in the middle of everything I'm doing. It's endearing up to the point that he starts running off with my tools or bits of what I'm working on. The most recent occasion was excessive. Every tool I set down disappeared, and I'd have to chase him down. Finally, I made him look me in the eye and told him no. I fussed at him for maybe 2 minutes straight. When I was done, he just leaned in and hugged me. Totally made me feel like an ass. Story 4. My kids were trying to get me to say who I loved more, and I tried to help them understand why I couldn't answer by saying, "That's like me asking who you love more, me or mommy." My daughter looked me right in the eye and said, "We love mommy more." She paused, almost as if for effect, and added, "Way more." It was more funny than heartbreaking. But damn, girl. Story 5. My son in kindergarten needed to take money to buy toys at school for a fundraiser. I explained how to pay and get change, and I gave him $5. He was really nervous about doing it wrong because he knew money was important. I said, "Relax, it will be easy." And he burst out crying and said, "It's not easy when you're just a little boy." I felt that it summed up all the vulnerabilities of being a little dude trying to learn how the world works. Still makes me laugh and cry a little. Story 6. Our cat died last August. In December, we had a miscarriage. When I told my kids that the baby died, they started laughing and cheering. Now Frances, the cat, is not alone anymore and has someone to play with. Story 7. With me, she buried her mother, who died of cancer. The hardest part was telling her that mommy was going to die. To me, she grew up. I miss my daughters being at the fun ages. Story 8. My son, who is 11, once broke down crying at bedtime. It took me a very long time to convince him to tell me what was wrong. He said, "I always feel I'm not enough. I still have so many things I don't know or can't do. I'm doing everything wrong." What happened before his breakdown? I told him he had to get faster at bedtime because it usually takes him half an hour to get ready, as he always has his head in the clouds. It reminded me to be more patient with him. Poor little dude. Story 9. About 15 months ago, I had to hold my then almost 6-year-old as we went into this little room at the funeral home. I held her in my arms while we looked at her mom, my wife, for the last time. I didn't know if I should have taken her in there or not, but looking back, I'm glad I did. I think she and I both needed to be able to see her one last time and say goodbye. The next day, my little girl and I sat there as they lowered her into the ground. It's been amazing to see just how much hurt and suffering a little family can go through when they lose mom. We miss her every day, and we go to the cemetery often. They say time is supposed to help, but so far, no help in sight. I wouldn't wish it upon anyone. This certainly got more attention than I thought it would. Felt cathartic to write it out, to be honest. One thing I left out is that although I had a nearly 6-year-old at the time, I was also blessed and left with our 16-month-old daughter when she passed. One will remember their mom and all she did and loved, and one won't. I'm not sure how that will look or work in the future. However, I am very lucky to have them both, and I am lucky to have had her while I did. Secondly, my wife made the unfortunate decision to take her own life. I had known this girl for 11 years, and not once did she ever worry me or cause me alarm. So for those out there that need assistance, please reach out. Suicide is never the answer, and it leaves behind so much hurt. Thank you all so much for the kind words and wisdom. Take care of one another in these truly trying times. Find or make the happiness you can. Story 10. I was talking to my daughter about her needing to keep her room clean. She will be 7 in a couple of weeks. After a bit, she just broke down crying and said, "I'm not normal. I'm so dumb." It broke my heart to hear her say that. Story 11. My son told me he was being picked on the bus. I was picked on the bus at his age 7 to 8 also. It brought back some of those feelings. We nipped it in the bud, and the bully's parents were appropriately responsive. My daughter was over at a neighbor's house and was attacked by their dog, leaving her with puncture scars on her wrist and upper thigh. Something like that makes you see how vulnerable things really are. She was upset about the scars, and I quickly pointed out all of the scars on my arms, face, and neck. I asked her, "Do you see these scars when you look at me?" She said she never noticed them before, and I think that made her feel much better. I see those scars now, and weirdly it makes me sad. Mine have made me feel self-conscious, and I know she will have some of that. I guess I feel like I let her down by not being there to protect her, but then you realize at the same time that you can't be there all the time. I appreciate the awards and the thoughtful comments and stories. I hope everyone has a great weekend. Story 12. My best friend of over 20 years was my daughter's godmother, or fairy godmother as my daughter called her. We were all very close. We saw her multiple times a week because she was like my sister. She was there the day I was told I could finally try to get pregnant. She went to appointments with me and was waiting in the hospital after my emergency C-section. She had cancer, and my daughter knew she was sick. My daughter and she still did yoga together, dressed like fairies, and read books. She taught my daughter Spanish. They were close. Then she died last year. My daughter was 3. I had to explain it to her. She understood. She asked if we could visit her though. No. But can I still love her? And that's what broke me. She still says she misses her all the time. Me too, kid. Me too. Story 13. My older son was 5, and I was in the midst of horrible postpartum anxiety. Just a mess, but quietly trying to keep him from it. His dad had to go out of town and had a cute little, "You're the man of the house. Take care of your mom," talk with him. At 2 a.m., I couldn't sleep, anxious out of my mind, quietly trying to keep it together, and I heard him rustling about. He came waddling into my bed, dragging his blanket, and announced he was there to take care of me. Story 14. My oldest is 4. She amazes me constantly with how clever she is and how she thinks of things. She understands the idea of death due to us having a couple of cats die. One day she asks if she'll go to my heaven when she dies, then tells me she wants to die before me so I'll be with her for her whole life. We both cried a lot. I'm tearing up just writing it. Story 15. Dear Reddit community, it is with a heavy heart that I write this farewell message to express my reasons for departing from this platform that has been a significant part of my online life. Over time, I have witnessed changes that have gradually eroded the welcoming and inclusive environment that initially drew me to Reddit. It is the actions of the chief executive officer, in particular, that have played a pivotal role in my decision to bid farewell. For me, Reddit has always been a place where diverse voices could find a platform to be heard, where ideas could be shared and discussed openly. Unfortunately, recent actions by the chief executive officer have left me disheartened and disillusioned. The decisions made have demonstrated a departure from the principles of free expression and open dialogue that once defined this platform. Reddit was built upon the idea of being a community-driven platform where users could have a say in the direction and policies. However, the increasing centralization of power and the lack of transparency in decision-making have created an environment that feels less democratic and more controlled. Furthermore, the prioritization of certain corporate interests over the well-being of the community has led to a loss of trust. Reddit's success has always been rooted in the active participation and engagement of its users. By neglecting the concerns and feedback of the community, the chief executive officer has undermined the very foundation that made Reddit a vibrant and dynamic space. I want to emphasize that this decision is not a reflection of the countless amazing individuals I have had the pleasure of interacting with on this platform. It is the actions of a few that have overshadowed the positive experiences I have had here. As I embark on a new chapter away from Reddit, I will seek alternative platforms that prioritize user empowerment, inclusivity, and transparency. I hope to find communities that foster open dialogue and embrace diverse perspectives. To those who have shared insightful discussions, provided support, and made me laugh, I am sincerely grateful for the connections we have made. Your contributions have enriched my experience, and I will carry the memories of our interactions with me. Farewell, Hedge. May you find your way back to the principles that made you extraordinary. Sincerely, not a bot dad. Story 16. When my son was 5 or so, I was in a battle to the death with a recalcitrant tape measure, and he saw my struggles and said, "You need a hug." And I yelled back, "I don't want a hug." He ran off, and I immediately thought, what have I done? So I chased him down and held him tight and apologized over and over again. What was I thinking? He was such a sweet little boy. He's 23 now and maybe not quite as sweet, but still a very good person. Story 17. I was on the floor playing with my youngest son, who was 4. I shifted my weight and several of my joints cracked, so I let out a groan. "Daddy, why did that happen?" my son asked. So I told him it's because I'm getting old, which is sort of a joke because I'm only 31. He then said he didn't want me to get old. When I asked why, he said something like, "Because you die when you get old. I don't want you to die. If you die, who is going to be my daddy? Who is going to sleep upstairs with mommy?" So yeah, I spent the rest of the evening quietly contemplating my own mortality because of something my 4-year-old said. Story 18. My son is 1 as of a week ago. I have lace-up ankle boots I wear when I do project installations for work, which always requires at least one night's hotel stay. He's learned those boots mean I won't be home for supper and bath time. He screams if I grab my boots and tries to run off with whichever one I haven't put on yet. Story 19. My daughter is almost 7. Her dad and I split when she was a little over a year old, and he has seen her twice since then. It's always just been her and me, and it's always been great. My best friends are a married couple with a 4-year-old son. We were at their house a few months back, and my friend said to her child, "Go check on daddy and see how much longer until he's ready because we have to go." And my daughter very quietly says, "I wish I had a daddy to check on." I explained to her that she does have a daddy and that he just lives far away. No, I mean a daddy who actually sees me and talks to me. Story 20. I'm a 25-year-old female, but my dad has told me the 2 worst things I ever told him, and he will never forget are: 1, when I broke my arm falling off the monkey bars when I was about 6, and I asked him, "Why didn't you catch me?" And 2, when my parents told my sister and me they were getting divorced, I took my dad aside and told him, "I don't think I can do this." I apologize profusely about those all the time now. Story 21. My older brother just died. I have 3 kids and my youngest just turned 2. During this time, he could help me so much. I just want to love on him and kiss him and hold him and rock him. But he won't even let me kiss him. He will just smack me and get angry at me. All he wants is his mother right now. It just started right before he turned 2. And I know he's just a baby. I don't hold it against him. But it hurts so much to look at his little face and want to love him, only to be outright rejected by him. It's difficult, but it hurts my feelings. Thank all of you for your comments. Things are just really hard for me right now, and you have reframed things for me a bit. Thank you. Story 22. My kids and I listen to and sing along with a few songs every night before bed. My 10-year-old daughter chose the song "Never Enough" from The Greatest Showman. She started crying during the song. Music is hugely important to me, and I wanted to know what about that song moved her to tears and what she was feeling. But I just let the moment be and hugged her tighter. Story 23. My little guy is 8. He is a ball of energy at all times. It gets frustrating at times, especially with him and his brother home, attending online school. One day he told me, "Take me up the road and drop me off. I'll be fine. Someone will want me." Tore my entire heart out. He is deeply loved, but we have to constantly remind him to be mindful of his body and energy. He is a good boy with an amazing heart. He loves so deeply. I hated that he felt like this. We internalized this request and changed our perspective as well as how we handle his energy. Story 24. This may or may not fall under the scope of the question, But the most heartbreaking thing to happen to me and my wife was instead of bringing our son home from the hospital, on the day he was due, I was making his funeral arrangements. The doctors made a grave mistake, and we lost him 3 devastating days before he was due. So while my wife was in the hospital, I came home and disassembled his crib we just put up and everything because my wife didn't need to deal with that. Whoever said time heals all wounds lied. Story 25. My ex-wife took my 12-year-old daughter away from me by twisting her mind and blatantly making things up. That was over a year ago, and I'm still fighting to get her. When I do get to speak with her, she just repeats whatever her mother has told her, and it kills me inside as I don't have any answers. Edit. Thank you all for your kind words of support. It gives me hope that things can get better. Story 26. I'm in the process of divorcing my physically and emotionally abusive husband. The last time I saw him, he beat me in front of our 2 kids. 4 and 2. My daughter, 4, has been handling everything so well, but of course, she has times when emotions take over. I taught her a breathing exercise for when she's spiraling. Imagine your birthday cake. Take a deep breath and smell your cake. In through the nose. Now blow out your candles out through the mouth. It helps her tremendously. There are times when I just break down crying. One day, I just sat in our hallway and couldn't stop bawling. My daughter came up to me, put her hand on my shoulder, and said, "Mommy, you need to smell your birthday cake." It broke my heart. She's so compassionate and strong.